in collaboration with the African Development Studies Center, ADSC, held a 5-day national capacity building workshop on treaties, agreements, and protocols for federal MDAs, with the theme Enhancing Institutional Capacity for Effective Treaty Negotiation, Implementation, and Oversight in Nigeria. Honorable Barrister Rabiu Yusuf, Chairman of the House Committee on Treaties, Protocols, and Agreements in the 10th Assembly, highlighted the importance of strengthening the skills of key government officials in treaty processes.
At this particular moment of our country, we need a situation whereby all the stakeholders involved in external engagement with other countries, particularly state and the federal governments, and mostly MDAs of the at national level, to ensure that they are aware, they know what it takes, they know how it will be, and they know what it takes to ensure the institutionalized democracy and the legal approach as far as ratification, engagement, domestication of treaties. That is why the 10th National Assembly, under the able leadership of the Right Honorable Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, mandated our committee, pursuant to Section 12, Sub 2 of the Constitution, that we should reach out to all necessary stakeholders who are personally stakeholders on this engagement to ensure they know how it takes and they know how to execute it. Basically, that is the reason we are conducting this exercise.
Actually, I think there is no point for me to deliver my remark at this time, because I'm very much aware that my remarks have been delivered instead of extension. So in either words, I will just say I really sincerely appreciate your presence in this program, and I believe it will go far in helping the system, stimulating the system, and work for the Nigerian progress. So I wish you a fruitful discussion and a successful outcome. Thank you very much.
The major challenge, everybody is going silo, in the sense that we are not trying to bring ourselves into the same table to ensure that before you find any entity, be it state, local governments, or federal entity, as far as engagement is concerned with other outside world, you need to know there are provisions of the Constitution which you need to comply. Failure to comply with that provision of the Constitution, whatever you do, it will go to a nullity, invalid, and is inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution. And to the extent of that inconsistency, it is null and void, of no effect whatsoever. So we're trying to avoid this scenario whereby at national level or at international fora, Nigeria will be embarrassed because the stakeholders, the principal actors, they didn't even know what they are doing. So that is why we decided at this particular moment, it is ripe and necessary to ensure that we engage with unnecessary stakeholders. That is the basic reasons for engaging these activities. Actually, I recommend their effort to any other entity, because if you can see, most of them, they are legal luminaries. They know their audience, they know what they are doing. So I really appreciate, they did a very wonderful job. And I sincerely appreciate. That's the main reason that I say I need to be here in Lagos, at least to supervise the happening in Lagos. And I'm impressed. Engagement with outside world, it is two ways. It is going to be either bilateral or multilateral. So with this kind of workshop, or with this kind of discourse, we believe the principal actors will now know what it takes to enter a treaty. And if they comply with what they are taught in this session, if they advise their principal when they go back to their respective MDA on the right way to go, I believe most of the treaties will be legally binding in Nigeria, provided they follow the procedure laid down by the Constitution. The future is bright. And the future, we will ensure in the future that all the treaties, all the agreements, all the international protocols are being observed to the latter, are being protected and enforced as it is enshrined in the Constitution. And with this kind of workshop, we believe we will create a series of avenues whereby we will engage other parties, other necessary stakeholders. We just set the ball rolling, and we will be there, inshallah.
Also sharing insights on the workshop, the clerk of the House Committee on Treaties, Protocols and Agreements discussed the value of the training in improving the understanding and application of international agreements across MDAs. He noted that the engagement served as an eye-opener, equipping participants with tools for more effective negotiation and oversight.
I'm a Nigerian, I'm a citizen of Nigeria, and I want Nigeria to benefit from its interaction with international community, and it starts from things like this. For us to be able to interact well, we need to know what it entails to engage in the international community. When we are talking about treaties, what does it entail to enter into treaties? How do we do that? How do we negotiate? How do we implement? How do we oversight as a parliament? So it is my duty as a clerk of the committee to advise the chairman and the committee members on how to go on all these issues, and also very instrumental to the organization of this workshop today. Our partners, the facilitators, are very, very excellent. We appreciate them, and it's also a collaborative effort between us and them. And so far, so good. What we have ensured so far has been fantastic. The participants are very, very impressed. I myself am impressed, and I also there are some things I am taking home. For instance, now. Nigerians used to think before that our negotiators who negotiate treaties will just go abroad, go on tea party, shopping, but it's not more the case. By what I'm seeing here now, I can see experts, technocrats who know their honors, who take the bull by the horn and do what it's supposed to do. That one has been established. Even our facilitators can attest to that as well. Another thing is that the quality of ideas being shown and being given us here is very, very apt to our situation presently, so that we can apply in our situation in Nigeria. And going forward, if this lesson continues, it's going to impact a lot, because MDs, many of the MDs are here. Even state governments, like Kogi State Government is here, the SSG is here. The Attorney General of Plateau State was also here, and also some top directors in the federal MDA, they are here. So it's a high-class, high-level engagement workshop. We are in a political environment, I must tell you that. But we, technocrats, are supposed to be the advisors and movers of policies. So they don't need to bend. They need to stick to the rule. And I also to advise our government, our leaders, that as well as they are making policies, they should also consider the benefits, the interest of the country, not just politics. They should not play politics with it. They should consider the interest of the country first, and also the people. It's an appeal that everybody that has a responsibility to do, either in the public service, or in private sector, in government, do your responsibility as much as you can, in a good faith, in sincerity. Don't put your personal interests above national interests.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is my pleasure to be here to make a closing remarks on behalf of His Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker, 10th National Assembly, Right Honorable Tajudeen Abbas. He has mandated me to deliver this goodwill closing remarks. We appreciate your time, your dedication, and your efforts in trying to attend this program and attentively pay attention to the discourse and the further issue being deliberated here. And it is believed that this message you have learned here, or what you have learned here, will be passed towards your chief executive officers, and at the same time you will guide them in achieving the necessary mandates in deciding issues of treaties, obligation of treaties, and what have you. So at this juncture, on behalf of the Right Honourable Speaker, we wish you a safe return to your various destinations, and we believe you will pass the message to all other necessary stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Okay, as you know, my name is Babatunde Jala Ipega. I shortened it. That was part of my journey to Baba Jala Ipega. I was born here in Lagos, just a stone throw away from here, in actually Lagos Hospital here. And I was expelled from school. I went to Corona Ikoyi at the age of 6. My teacher, who I found to be quite unjust at the time, made us all stand, and I remember this, even though it's like almost 45 years ago. But I remember standing outside Corona School in the heat with all the students in my class because one boy had done something and no one owned up. So I found that quite unjust that all of us had to suffer. So I picked up a stone and I threw that stone at my headmistress's glass and it broke her window. She told my parents, and my parents weren't very happy, of course, but they realized that I wasn't meant to be in school like that here. So the teacher actually asked me to leave, and my parents took me to England. They said, take this child to England. We can't control this child here. He's a wild fellow. So as soon as I got to England, I went to Tunbridge Wells in Kent. I went to school there, and it was the most cold experience I've ever had in my life. I was 6.5 going to 7, and I went to boarding school at that age. And I think that woke me up in life straight away, that even in comfort, you still have steel. And by that, I mean that everyone would think, oh, you are lucky, you went to England at 6, 7. But I was very young. I was put in a dormitory with children from England, from Japan, from Saudi Arabia. We were all very young. There was a lot of crying in the dormitory, 12 boys, 6 on each side. And the room was very cold. I remember the cold. But one other thing I got to learn was rugby. And through my life, rugby and learning to deal with my condition and environment has instilled a strength in me. And as we know in Nigeria, you have a lot of things that happen that are out of your control, but you have to find a way to evolve and adapt. And I think from the age of 6, 7, I was very lucky to have that. I went to the oldest school in the world called King's Canterbury, started by St. Augustine in 598 AD. This was the secondary school I went to. And my life seemed pretty, what they say, gold-leafed at the time. Everyone's like, you enjoy, you're in Nigeria, you're in London. I learned to speak Spanish. Unfortunately, I lost my Yoruba, but I'm trying to get that back. I learned to speak Spanish and French. But at the age of 17, my father had a stroke. And he was working too hard, obviously. And sadly, my mom and dad had split up by that time. So my whole life that seemed so rosy stopped because my father's business partners, all of them somehow took the business and it went away. And from that going away, we were left destitute. My dad was in a coma for 3 months, and my mother, who wasn't working, because my sisters and I have 2 lovely older sisters, Yewande and Gigi, we were still in school. So much so that my last year's school fees were not paid. But one of my uncles kindly paid for my school fees, and my mother had to go to work. She started her own business. She too was a journalist, Mrs. Ibiene Epega, but she started a chauffeur driving company and started using cars to drive people with her staff. So from that age where I thought a university was going to be given, I was left floating in the abyss because we didn't have financials. So for 1 year, I had to work in a post office in London. And it was quite an eye-opener for me, but it didn't stop me from adapting. And again, adaptation helped me grow. So from being in a very wealthy family as a young man, coming to the age of 17 to become an adolescent, grown-up, I realized that nothing is given. My father sadly was in a stroke, and when he had that stroke, he became semi-paralyzed. For another 30 years, he was semi-paralyzed. But my mother died quite soon after that time in a car crash on the road to Warri, because my Okrika side and Warri side is where my mom was from, even though my father was Ijebu. So my mother died at the age of when I was 21, which was 20 actually, when I was starting university. And my father was semi-paralyzed. So I became the father of the family, even though my sisters were older and far more intelligent than me. But being the man, I had to take control of a lot of things. And I think that's what really gave me the tenacity to understand that I really need to be someone who doesn't just walk one field. I need to spread my risk. From my university, I did mathematical economics and Spanish. I was able to go to University, Queen Mary College, London University. And from there, I finished. As I said, I worked again. So I worked before I went to uni, and then I worked afterwards. And for me, life is about collaboration, communication, and tenacity. And I think that those were my first 21 years. There were less people in Lagos in those days. I won't lie. I grew up every summer and even Christmas where we could afford it. Back in my day, 1978, 79, Naira was 0.8 to £1. So you can understand that people were very wealthy. I think in those days there was like 40 million people. It wasn't that much of it because my dad was an estate surveyor. So we used to go to Abuja a lot. And he was one of the surveyors that gridded Abuja when it was being built during the late 70s, 80s with Obasanjo, and even before Murtala Mohammed. They were gridding it. And Lagos, or should I say Abuja, was made the capital. And Abuja is a model city of Milton Keynes, which is a model city of Paris. Just like Brasilia in Brazil was changed from Rio de Janeiro as a capital. So for me, coming back to Lagos was a joy. I enjoyed it because I was young. We used to just run the streets on our bicycles and cycling, just exploring. Everything was open. There weren't as many cars. It was no big apartments, and there weren't as many people. So I had a beautiful time. There were a lot of lizards on the ground, and we used to throw stones at them. But that was my own youth. We used to go to the beach a lot. Bar Beach was around. It's not around now. Sadly, my dad used to take me to Bar Beach to see the capital punishment killings of armed robbers, and even Dimka, who was one of the leaders of the coup d'etat against Murtala Mohammed. We saw him shot there. Saturdays was a big day. And NTA used to have a channel. I think they still have their studio there. So one of our aunties, Ms. Julie Coker, was there. So we saw a different side of Nigeria. We would go to Ibadan. We'll go to Ijebu. We'll go to Benin. We'll go to Port Harcourt by road. In those days, you could travel, and along the way, we go to Akure. You pick up mangoes, you pick up coconuts. My dad will pick up palm wine. All these things on the road that I don't know if you get it now because security is an issue. So for me, it was a romantic time. I think fashion, evolving through Nigeria, has started as a siloed industry. By that I mean every individual was doing their own thing, whether they were a seamstress, a tailor, a designer, a stitcher, they were doing their own thing. But we are realizing that with the 200 plus million people we have in Nigeria, you can't be an individual alone doing your own thing. So the evolution of fashion that I've seen in my own small way, as someone who's worked in the industry, is that there's more collaboration. The designers are looking for hire specialist artisans to help with their stitching, the styling, and the putting together of clothes and accessories. So I'm also seeing small grassroots shoots, very small at the moment, of the government playing a part in bringing together some kind of foundation so people can articulate their fashion designs to the world, because we have seen it in a lot of music. Obviously, Afrobeat is one of our biggest exports in this country. Obviously, there's oil and all the others, but I'm talking about within this entertainment, luxury, lifestyle industries. So we're trying to learn from that how private sector can play a part to enhance these fashion sector. So now we're seeing a lot of vibrant colors, a lot of styles. Men fashion is big. It's not just women's fashion. Men's grooming is massive. Hair and beauty as well. So men are taking care of ourselves more and more. And accessories. Accessories, I think, is fundamentally the quick fix of fashion. where we can enhance and create jobs and hyper growth in GDP by focusing on this. And this is where I implore the government with, working in mineral resources, our precious metals, semi-precious metals, help those industries to grow. There's a great lady, Janet Adeyemi, who works in Women in Business, and she is working within that. Let's help our fairer sex or the female gender to grow in business as well, because there's a fundamental knowledge that if half your population are women, as ours is roughly, or maybe 51%, 52%, you have to educate the women so they too can add to GDP. It's a simple economist theory. You can't leave them out of it because it's very important. And these industries in fashion are enhanced by women, and we need to push that forward. I think the banking system needs to be augmented, and I'm saying this from the government's perspective. The ease of doing business in Nigeria, as an investor myself, a foreign investor as well as being an indigene in Nigeria, the problem is not getting your money to Nigeria, it's getting your money out of Nigeria. Not that you want to suck all the money out of the country, but what can help is the floating exchange rates, the flow and liquidity of money that can come in and out of the country. A lot of investors are worried about how they get their money out of Nigeria. So I think our banking system, going back to the central bank, which they're working on, needs to be much more fluid. So people feel they can invest and take money out. But also, we need to articulate what is on offer. We need to start some kind of documentation of who is available to have investment with, where they can be found, because it's because we are quite an opaque economy, meaning that people can't see the end of where they're putting their money. Once we do that basis and open up the lights within which kind of businesses are available to be invested in, I think a lot of investors, domestic and international, will be more willing to put money to it. I think content creation for me has been an evolution. I started as an ex-banker, as I said. I used to trade futures and options in Barclays Bank. I was on the Life Exchange, trading bonds, and I found that wasn't my life. I wanted to be more closer to people. Some people can be bankers on the trading desk or trading floor, but not for me. So I started doing events. I was very lucky enough to show that I was quite adept at doing events. So a big company called Richemont, they owned Cartier, Dunhill, Hackett. They were part of British American Tobacco. They took me on to do their events. So I was doing a lot of polo matches, a lot of Christmas parties, a lot of brand activation events in England. So for me, I got a lot of content knowledge from that. Different styles, people, different countries. But in the last 10 years, I felt that helping companies like LinkedIn, Google, all kinds of big banks in Europe and America was not my remit. My business, EMC3, was going very strongly in America. But as a Nigerian man, I didn't feel love in America. I know that everyone says it's the land of opportunity, but being someone of my own African descent, I didn't like the mentality there. People are good, but the infrastructure is racist institutionally, as we know. So I felt I wanted to give something back to Nigeria. And with all the 20 years of, at that time, about 17 years of knowledge I'd gained from doing some of the best Grand Prix parties in the world, Formula One, around Monza, Silverstone, Abu Dhabi, I was doing a lot of events. I thought, let me take this back to Nigeria. I didn't have to come back to Nigeria. I wanted to. And I know with all our grievances with Nigeria, if you ask many Africans about Nigeria, they'll say, they look up to us. You guys, you have Chinua Achebe, you have Wole Soyinka, you have Fela Kuti. What's your problem? You have Chimamanda Adichie. What's your problem? So we have to take ownership and say, yeah, we do have all these people. We have Afrobeats, whether it's Burna Boy, Davido, the Venus Bushfires, all these different people that are exported. Let us look inside and say, wow, we do have a lot. So I wanted, as a content creator, to show Nigeria in all the different sectors that we do have a lot. And that's why with the marketing and communications company that I've started, my own company, I felt I could touch so many sectors. And finance, as I mentioned, I work with banks. Also government, Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, a very great entity. I work in fashion, with brand labels and people across the board. There are great shops like Alara here that also promote African fashion and African business. And did you know even Leventis does a lot of research, Nigerian bottling company, to help this country. And do you know Nigeria was blowing glass 1,000 years, almost 1,000 years before Europe knew glass blowing. And it's been found in Oyo State only recently. So it's very important that architecturally we take ownership of our country. The Nok civilization that has been in the mid to, I think it's above Abuja, near Benue, and even Niger River, above those basins, that has a lot of artifacts and a lot of archaeological excavation potential. But we've allowed that just to linger. People have stolen a lot of our artifacts. Nigeria was known for Benin bronzes. We were the best smelters of iron before people were smelting iron. So these are things we have to take stock of. And me as a content creator, I bring all that information together and I make sure that people acknowledge it and are aware of it. So then that will uplift us all. Now, this is a political question, but I believe with our background of the last 20, 30 years, we've had, sadly, leaders who have been militarily inclined, let's just call it that. And as we know, military people, they don't like educated people because educated people will ask questions. So we have had what we call a dismemberment of education in Nigeria for the last 35 years. And that has played an endemic part in retarding the gross domestic productivity of our country because our youths and even people up to my age and older have not had the infrastructure, middle-class education that is needed for a country to grow. You look at the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century in Europe, especially in Britain, and you look how they were expanded by merchants and artisans and specific skilled workers. Apprenticeships were big, education was huge. There was what they call a noblesse obligée, a nobility obligation that people who are rich give back to institutions, not to church, to institutions that will help education. And that is where I think we've had a disconnect. Education was lacking. So for me, the way that we can help, it takes time. This new government is in. They are trying to implement the 8-point agenda, which is a good agenda. But everyone's looking for results now. Nigeria has been in a very bad state. There's global downturn. Obviously, cost of living is so high as it has been for a while. Nigeria is exacerbated, but in Europe, cost of living is high. There are some stupid wars going on around the world that has meant oil prices have skyrocketed. And with the rocketing of oil, everything goes up price-wise. So Nigeria needs to reevaluate education and apprenticeship. I believe even in fashion industry especially, apprenticeship is very important. Whether it's weaving, designing, marketing, online, whatever it is, factories, you need apprenticeship. And that's the quick fix of education. But education is fundamental to everything. Education of men and women, or girls and boys, both. Let's be honest, we need both sides of our genders to work together. Yoruba, we've always been what we call a dual binary kind of culture. We've always thought of male and female as one, and it's very important. Even in our names, Taiwo and Kehinde, you won't know if it's male or female. So we have to really educate ourselves that we can work together. And I think our women are our future. I can't even emphasize that more. And education is key. But it takes time. I think Japa syndrome is very real. Everyone wants a better life. Let's not lie. You want a better life for yourselves, but for your family, your parents, your children. And the opportunities in Nigeria, even when you have been educated and you finish graduate here, to find jobs is not easy. The infrastructure is very bad for job creation. And this is being worked on, and the last 8 years has been fundamentally broken. But we know this new government is changing that. But specifically, JAPA in Canada, they need our brains. You go across the world and you ask any nation, especially America, who are the best educated, the best, integrated, and the most proficient people, Nigerians. So it's not that we are stupid, it's that we don't have the infrastructure at home. And America, Canada, Europe, they're giving us the infrastructure. So getting out of Nigeria is not easy. There are opportunities and policies that allow it, but going across the border to Libya is not the way. You spend $5,000, $4,000, which is almost 4 or 5 million naira to try and get to Europe, and then you're treated like a dog when you get there. That's not the way. But, there are certain policies that can take you to these countries. And in Britain, for instance, it's not all, the streets aren't paved in gold, but if you earn £1 in Britain, you send that home, that £1 is 1,300 naira. So, and the minimum wage is £14 an hour now in Britain. So you can do the maths of that. So someone who is earning £14 an hour, if they work 10 hours in a day, they've earned over £100, which is 100,000 naira. So the maths, of course, is what makes people want to go there, because even if you are working there, obviously you're paying British rates, so your rent, your cost of utilities, your food and drink, your transport comes into play. It's not cheap there. But the money you send, even if you're only sending £100 a month back to your mom, that's 100,000 naira. So, or 130,000 naira in today's rate. So you can do the maths. That's why people are going. And the security in these countries is, and the education, to be quite frank, is better. But it doesn't mean they are better. We have to build a house, you must thatch the roof from within, so your roof doesn't cave in. And I think that's very important. Not that people shouldn't go home, go out of the country, but they should always come home as they can. I think my success is down to, as much as I can say a success, because it's still a book that is not finished and the stories are still unwritten, is a tenacity of hard work. It's very important that people understand that it takes a lifetime to look like an overnight success. It doesn't just come. What I'm still doing, I'm not the most successful in my business, but I love my business. And if you can find something that you love and you can make money out of, then you're in heaven on earth, to be quite frank. I think my spirituality and my faith is very important, as is my wife's. My wife, Helen Epega, she wrote the world's first Pidgin English opera. And we've been staging it here in London. We played in Cape Town, in Nairobi, and in Lagos, And we've staged it in London. We're at the Royal Albert Hall next year. I'm executive producer of that. So I think my success, to add to that, is that I put all my eggs in one basket. And I work very hard to make sure I research and obtain knowledge of the next thing, or what was the last thing. I'm a historian as well. And I put things in perspective. And I try to add value as I can. But as my momsy used to say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So I like to listen as well. And from children you can learn, from grandpapa you can learn. So humility is very important. I'm not arrogant with it. And I think that's the most important part. Collaboration, humility, and shared drive. But also knowing that for me, Saturday and Sunday, I'm off. That's my time for the family. I take a break. Sunday, even God rested on the 7th day. Me too, I rest. I'm not 24/7, even though this weekend we have a big fashion event, but that's work. But when I take my tools down, it's tools down. No one can call me on Sunday morning. So you can't be BOing to people. Never let anyone own you like that. That's what I say. Someone calling you on Sunday morning, Obviously, in journalism, in film, it's a different from projects. I'm not saying every time, but just be aware of yourself and your mental health. That's the most important. Sure. The world's first pidgin English opera is a show about a Nigerian fabled people. It's almost like Orisha, but it's not. There are people who are Mami Waters as well as they are spiritual people. They are the guardians of the galaxy, to use an expression. There is God, the all-faithful God, and the all-knowing God, omniscient, omnipotent. But below that, there are all these almost demigods that look after, let's say, this sector of the universe. And these people are singers. They sing opera. But they sing it with pidgin English. And you know, pidgin is a language that is known by most Nigerians, but it's a language that people shun and say, it's a bad language. But they speak pidgin in Hawaii. They speak pidgin in China. They speak pidgin, Old English Cockney is pidgin. American even is a form of pidgin because they've Yankified English. So what my wife has done, Helen Epega, she's also known as the Venus Bushfires. She is an Afrofuturist musician. She composes songs. So she put together this compilation, which is a pidgin English opera musical. And it's a show that lasts for about 45 minutes or an hour and a half. It depends if you're doing the short version or long version. So we have tenors, we have sopranos, we have violinists, we have kura player, and my wife plays something called the hang, which is like 2 tortoise-shell steel drums that sound like a harp. And she plays that, and she sings. She's the main protagonist in this. And it's a drama about all these people that have come, the many people who are meant to look after the planet, but they lose their voice. So Earth is, because God is angry with them, the Earth, and says these people are rubbish. But the many people say to God, please, give them one more chance. They're not that bad. I know they're fighting, there's lots of wars, but give them another chance. So the lead Kanate of these many people has to go to the Venus Bushfire, which is the heavenly celestial place, to bring the voice back, to sing Earth back into harmony. So it's a drama, and it kind of plays on our old cultural awareness in Africa and heritage of Nigeria of there are other beings. You must have faith in your ancestors as well as in a God. And the deities, as we know in Yoruba, I think there are 7 deities, and these are very important cultural awareness that we try to give to children as well. I think the filmmaking in Nigeria is burgeoning. AFRIF, the African Film Festival, International Film Festival, is on now, which is a great show. I helped incept in 2010, many years ago. We had it in Port Harcourt. It was Governor Rotimi Amici that started that campaign, but it's going on very strongly now. Nollywood, as we call it, is being noticed by the international market, whether it's Netflix or Hollywood. I would like to tell you something, actually, which is, I haven't divulged this for many years. My great uncle, whose name is Pa Orlando Martins, God rest his soul, was one of the first African actors in Hollywood. He acted in the 30s with people like Ronald Reagan, Katharine Hepburn, and Bob Hope. And he always played a part as an African prince or chief. He was never like denigrated or made into a lower African slave or anything. And I think that instilled something in my mind with this film industry. I think it's very important that Nigeria, as it is, we have some great actors like Wale Ojo and Ramsey Noah. They are playing part in producing their own shows. And it's very important. Like in America, you obviously have people like Mel Gibson, Robert De Niro, who have produced their own films as well. That Nigerians are not just actors or technicians, they're also producers and directors. It's very important that we have that link within our industry. And we make friends and we forge relationships, not just with Hollywood, There's Bollywood, the Indian industry, and there's also China, because China's film industry is massive. Technically, I think that just as big as Hollywood. So we must look to ourselves in Africa as well. There's some great film makers from Zimbabwe, South Africa, Ghana, and I think collaboration is, I always use collaboration because I would not be here without collaboration. Obviously, my wife, you collaborate with your spouse, but also my businesses. I have very good English business partner. He's really a business partner. I've started a new business. I collaborate with all kinds of industries and different sectors. So for film industry, I think it's important that we push our heritage forward, because people want to know about Nigeria. They love, in Africa, they love Nollywood stories, and that's a fact. And we can expand by using distribution. Distribution is key. Netflix, all the Hollywood film houses, negotiate with them. Even if you don't get the best price for this show, make sure you check your contract, make sure you get it for your next film. So I think that's important, distribution. While I'm still alive, that's a very good question. Hope springs eternal with me, and I am optimistic about Nigeria. I think Nigeria is not what we all will think it will be. It's something it's a country that needs to be more fluid. We have in diaspora a lot of powerful individuals and groups. I think we need to connect even more with those individuals and groups who need to invest in Nigeria. Our youth is very talented and is very able, but it's also very abundant. So we need to find a way to link up education, apprenticeship to these youth, to give them something that is productive to work in. And that means expanding your mind as parents. It's not just doctors, lawyers, bankers that we need. We need artisans, we need creatives, and that's the most important point. It's a mind block. So for me, if we can work on Nigeria's mind psyche and the taboos of we don't want our child to marry a musician. You know, even as a musician, you don't just have to be a rapper. You could be a music engineer. You could be a filmmaker. You could be an engineer that works with the technical aspects of editing. You could be a designer. There are so many aspects. So I say to my utopian Nigeria, learn from your brothers and sisters. International research online is very important. And for me, the dream is to see Nigeria as a fluid country of strength in Africa, where we're trading with African countries and we're using what we have as our assets. Technically, of course, we need Europe and America and everything, but we have it in Africa. We have it in Nigeria. So my beauty of Nigeria would be if we become our own Wakanda, working with other African states and enhancing our own GDP as well as our region and our continent's GDP working together. Gosh, my favorite, what's the first one? Food. As you can see, I like my food. I like a mixture actually. I like amala. I like yams. I swallow very well. Whether it's with ogbono soup, that's very good. But also, from my mother's riverside, there's one okra, seafood okra that my mom used to make. And I still strive to find that. I go and find that whenever I go away. In London, you have some nice Nigerian restaurants, and in Lagos, of course, as across Nigeria. But nothing like home cooking. When my wife makes me a nice, I suppose she makes a egusi for me, eba, and that's my staple. My best music, I love Afrobeats, of course, but predominantly I'm a Fela man. Ebenezer Obey. I like the old styles. And I also like Zaire music. There's high life that comes across Africa. But to be lied to say I don't like Jimi Hendrix. I like Jimi Hendrix. He's a guitarist, a Native American, African-American guitarist. I love his kind of music. So those are my mainstays. And Gorillaz and De La Soul are still very great music of mine. Those are my Spotify at the moment. What was the other question? I like wrestling. They used to call it Gidigbo back in the day, Yoruba wrestling. I used to love that. I haven't seen that much lately, but I like Nigerian wrestling. Obviously, we play good football. We're great footballers as well, globally. But you said Nigerian sports. Polo. Nigeria, I like Nigerian polo as well. To my young brethren and children of Nigeria, I say it's important hard work. Hard work, research, and belief in yourself. Obviously, times are very tough at the moment, and money is tight. But with your own creativity, you can build your empire from there. I always believe that from one's mind, you can make wealth, and you shouldn't give up. Obviously, if you're not very great at one thing, you find what you are great at. But always be honest with yourself and treat others how you want to be treated. And remember, collaboration is the key or the little sister of success. And always have a smile. Very important. That's what I say.
Well, thank you once again for inviting me over. What would I say? Just doing a lot of wonderful things all over the world, working towards development of humanity in the areas of most especially sports development, football management, football administration, and other businesses I'm involved in. So that's what I've been up to. Well, basically, the National Sports Commission is there to ensure that sports development is put in a proper perspective. There are a lot of papers, a lot of policy papers, a lot of things that have been put in place. So they need to go into it, look at it, and structure something positive out for the development of sports in the country. I'm sure they have all what it takes to do it, and the zeal and the power to go ahead and put those things in place. So that's basically what they need to do. How the implementation is key. And I know, well, one way or the other, they should have the wherewithal to do it. So I wish them all the best. Well, you see, I don't like criticizing. I think I've gone away from areas of criticizing, but the standard of the league is very poor, and they have to put all efforts together to improve on the league. Also, the technicalities of the game, the manpower. We have to, we're still doing what we practiced 15 to 10 years ago, so it's not changed. So all those things have to change. We have to go away from the mediocre ways of running the game and put in more investment in development of the game itself. And the clubs have to be, it's so sad that we in Nigeria prefer to watch the Premier League compared to the Nigerian Premier League. It's a sad story. I remember 40 years ago, you could go to the stadium and watch our local, amateur league, and there were standards. So there's no reason why we can't bring that back. It's the wherewithal, the willpower to do it, and the stem from, having to go away from the area of mediocrity, where we bring in professionalism. We have the people that can do it, without any doubt. But for the system to allow them come in and do those things is another question. How that is going to be done, we've talked about it for many years, but nothing has been done about it. I pray and I hope someday they'll put up the proper perspective and the willpower to do those things. when it comes to grassroots football, we really have to start with kids from a very early age. We must have we have to start with them from age 5 to 16, to 18, to 20. So you have to have a sequence, a system where you build around from the very younger ones, and you have a uniform structure. Number one, we have to identify the kind of football we want to play in Nigeria, our type of football, our ethos, what we want to play. And then we can now imbibe that, put it in our kids from a very early age. So from age 5, you go under 5 to under 8, under 8 to under 12, under 12 to under 16, under 16 to under 18. You have those structures in place, and it's spread around the nation. Now, where it's not the under 5 or under 18 where you put a 20-year-old or 25-year-old. We have to have a system where those kids are registered and we can monitor them from a very early age. You understand me? Where we don't cheat, where we bring in the right age and we train them to perform at different age group levels. And going into from there and then going into the national sides, so we can start playing the under 10, under 15, or under 16, under 18. You understand me? So those structures have to be in place, which we don't have today. There must be uniformity. You understand? So if we can do that in the future, we will progress. But there must be a system in place. We must have coaches that have been trained to work with the kids from that very early age. And those coaches are trained within the system, within the Nigerian Football Federation, and then they're sent out to work with those children all over the nation. The football academies we have today are only out to sell players. You understand me? So what I'm saying here is where we have, I'm not saying academies shouldn't sell players or not. Those players in the academies, if we have uniformity, should be playing in the league. And then we must have a cap where we say, look, until you're a certain age, you can't leave the country. You must play in that league because we've invested in you. We've invested in those kids. So maybe they will have to play till they're 20 or 18 or 19 where they can now go out, you understand, to play abroad. But there must be a structure in place and there must be laws guiding it. That's the only way we can excel. It also goes to it also goes back to what I've been saying. The girls, the female team in Nigeria today, I believe the girls, I call them girls or ladies, are the ones that will ever win the World Cup first. They got the capacity, they got the women football, they can win the World Cup. They've got what it takes. But then it now goes back to our attitude and the corruption in the system. You understand me? If you allow the other girls from a very early age develop, and you have the same system I'm talking about, that cap of under 5, under 8, under 10, and you structure and you do it continuously in uniformity, we will be world beaters. We will win the World Cup at any given time because the women have got the grit. They pick up very faster than our army. They tap the balls. They are more technically better, within that range. So, but it's for us to develop those things and to take away corruption. First, when we talk about indigenous coaches, what coaches do we have? If you don't have a competitive league, a highly professional league, how do you want to get good coaches? You can't get good coaches. The coaches, it's not that we don't have the capacity to build good coaches. We have a lot of talents in this country that can be world beaters, that could be top coaches. I talk to young stars. Young stars will talk to you about the technicality of the game. They're very bright. Even my son, when he talks to me about football, I think he knows the game better than I do today. The technicalities of the game, you understand me? The formations, how players play back and forth. It's because you've given them the exposure. And we need to give our young stars that exposure. We need to develop them. That's what we're not doing. We have to invest in them. But for now, we have not done that. And what we're doing today is those bunch of coaches we have are not good enough to run the national team at that level of competition. I have one or two of them in America that are sound, for, you know, they're there. But how many of them can you bring into the system? You understand me? Our local coaches, we need
National Institute of Sports.
Now, please, let's forget about the National Institute of Sports. That I use a word, it's been alamalized. That's a very poor system. You know, it has nothing. We have nothing there. I'm serious. I'm not running anything. Our National Sports Institute is a disgrace. So we shouldn't be talking about that. Yeah. If you want to talk about a National Sports Institute, then you go to Australia and other countries and you see what it is. You see the standards. We don't have those things. Ours is archaic.
Is it beyond redemption?
There's nothing beyond redemption. It can be, you know, we can work on it. We can develop it. We just have a time frame, work around it. See, there's nothing we cannot do in this country. We got everything possible to do it. It's the wherewithal. Do we have that mindset to do it? Are we ready for it? Those are the things we have to look at. Or do we want to continue with our mediocrity? But really, sincerely speaking, there's nothing impossible. We can do anything here. We've got great youngsters. We have to remove all this old, archaic way of thinking and then bring in a more modern, professional approach to things. So that's it. The media is one of the most corrupt anyway, I'm sorry to say. The sports media and all that, the sports writers. I worked in the system, I know how corrupt they are. Majority of them are corrupt. I'm saying it. They can challenge me, but it's the truth. Until we get rid of all those things, where our boys go and collect envelopes to write or favor people, we're not going to get anywhere. I'm not saying the press, but the sports writers are a disgrace. See, the supporters club is not going to do anything or develop football. This is just to travel, get things. Oh, it's fine. It's good to have fans. But what has that got to do with football development? Nothing. Supporters club is not going to do anything. They're playing their own politics. You understand me? They want to travel. That's it. Travel around the world, do things. But is that part of football development? That is not football development. So let's leave that aside. We're talking about the professional, the technicalities, what it takes to develop national sides or a proper league. Then the supporters club has nothing to do with it. Do you see, how many people do you see at stadiums in Nigeria instead of watching football? Scanty, there's nothing. It's not like in the days where in the 70s or even in the 60s, if you're going to play a game at 4:45 in the afternoon, the stadium is full to capacity at 11 in the morning. You don't have that anymore. So what are we talking about supporters club?
Is there a way we can bring that back, that passion?
Yeah, if you build a league that, you know, has the quality, the professionalism, and all the standards are put in place, then you can bring them back. Then you can bring the crowd back. I think it's very unfair to call it lesser sports. All sports are tops. Yeah, it's very wrong to call them. They're top sports. Basketball is tops. Athletics is tops. It's very wrong. I think it's very unfair to call them lesser sports. See, bottom line is the politics, the greed. You understand me? We have top talented basketball players all over the world. We can put them together. It's all about management. It's all about commitment. But you don't have those things there. It's about myself. It's all about self-aggrandization. What do I get from this? It's not about what do we do to build these teams or these athletes to be world beaters. Do you understand me? So you're not going to get anything out of it. You will never. It's the bottom line. You'll never ever get anything. So you'll always have factions. You'll always have people fighting. Why do you fight for what? if you can collectively come together to build a system, a structure for basketball, for example, because the girls are tops, they can perform, they could do far better than where they are today. I always tell you, the female teams in Nigeria will always excel in athletics, in basketball and all that. Our male are a bit arrogant and clunky in doing things, but the ladies are always more committed. They've got what it takes, but they need good management. It's not that the men can't do it too, the men can do it, but it all also evolves with good management. Taking away politics, taking away greed, not a situation where a coach is collecting money from a player to put a player in the team, or a member of the football association fighting for their children or family to play in the national team, or a member of government is asking someone to put their kids in the team. No, that's not it. Where is the nationalism? Where's that patriotism? Patriotism. I don't care where you come from. If you're good, you're good. If you're better than my own people, then my own people have to sit down and you let them, the others that can perform. Where would you have quota system in football? Where's that done? Do you understand me? So we have a lot of issues we need to resolve. Well, what do you expect? The athletes themselves are far more successful and far more exposed than the administrators. So the administrators obviously are always envious of those ones, and they make life difficult for them. Do you understand me? Where you have people that are not competent enough running a system, people that are not exposed, that haven't got the professional ethics to run the thing, that's what you get. Then the greed aspect, which is a standard norm for us in this country. Greed. Where people believe athletics is only, you being a member of the Athletics Federation is all about traveling. You understand me? He wants to travel, she wants to travel. She wants to be in the, in the group of people that are going away. See, you can never get no results. They're all fighting to get something. And then they don't care about the athletes. They want to be in a delegation that is going to travel. Do you understand me? So that's basically it. They're not interested in the development. They haven't got the zeal. You understand me, sir? So once you don't have those things, you can never get anything right. Yeah, the private sector is one. The cricket has more because, government involvement is not as, I think you have more of the private people, interested private people that have gone to schools, top schools, that played cricket in those days. Those are the ones that are promoting cricket. So you're going to get results, you understand me? Because they're far more exposed, they understand what it takes. So the commitment is there. They're using their own funds to push, to develop the game. You understand sports. So that's why cricket is picking up. Oh, you mean the National Sports Festival? I think for now we don't really need that. We need to do more with the private sector. I think the new chairman of the National Sports Commission, it seems he's an exposed person. I think he's got to sit right and see how he can profile solutions to these things and change the course of. He's got what it takes to do it. He just has to come out of that shell, come out of that darkness. I'll call it darkness, and come into real light. I think he has it. But National Sports Festival, I don't think we're ready. We really need that now. We need to do more with youth development programs. You see, a National Sports Festival in those days was more interesting because you had more schools, inter-school sports. And that is where the best athletes came from. We don't have that anymore. So first we need to build the schools, schools, athletics and all that, build it to a standard, and then go into national sports festivals. For now, we don't have that. And I think the National Sports Commission has to look into that, how they can work with the Ministry of Education and see how they can build that again. School sports. That's where you get the best. In those days, the best athletes. We knew those that will run, that will actually participate and run for Nigeria. We knew the ones that will do high jump, long jump, triple jump. We knew them, both female and females, from secondary school. You don't have that anymore. So where do they come from? Nowhere. So you have, like in those days where some schools will go and get mercenaries, pay for them to come and run. That's what you get today. So it's corrupt. Now, the Sports Commission has to work on that. It has to change it. And I know they can do it. They just need to sit back and look at how they will change the course of things. If you want to unite Nigeria with good sports, then you got to give them good results, good teams that can perform. You understand me? In the process of winning competitions, or they have a team, or they have teams that have got the quality that can move the nation, then you unite. Everybody wants to watch good football. Everybody wants to see a great athlete running. You want to see a good high jumper performing at the best. When you see that, it draws everybody together. If you have a good national team that plays excellent football, look, in Nigeria, when you look at our team, the 94 team, we were the 5th in world ranking. You were talking about ranking, which I don't really. When we really had a good ranking, we were number 5 in the world. The 94 team was number 5. The World Cup 94, we were rated as the 5th best team in the world. And you look at the style of football we played. We developed our own style of football, took it to the world, and we were respected. We don't do that anymore. We have to have an identity. You understand me? Our footballers are not the best. We're good, we're very athletic, we're strong, we're physical. You understand me? We've got to build that kind of football. We are not as technical when it comes to techniques and all that, like the Europeans. But when it comes to the physicality, you understand me, we're better. When it comes to the physicality, the mental strength, we have it. So you have to build around that. You're putting a bit of technical things there, but the main issues is we got to have the muscles, the strength to run any team down. That's the kind of football we should play. We're playing lazy football now. We have to play what we played then, where we run any team down. We can play 2-3 hours non-stop. We never get tired. We don't have that anymore. We can even string passes. We can't play 2 against 4, 3 against. We don't do it anymore. We're lazy.
It's got to do with the kind of coach.
It's not only the coach. Yeah, the coach, and then the association, the federation. They don't have a vision. You have to know what you want to present to the world. It's like any other top team in the world. In Real Madrid, Barcelona, they have their own type ethos, their own style of football. And this is what they sell to the world. We don't even know what we're doing. We have to have what it takes to sell to the world. This is what we want to do. This is how we can perform. This is the style we're going to play. And that style we believe in. And then we build the youngsters from very early to play that same type of football. We have the manual that we can work with. Uniformity. Simple. That's it. No, it's individual and the corporate organizations. They're not doing enough. Everything can't just be government. Today, you don't even have Nigerians pumping money into sports like they used to do that. I'm sorry, I don't want to digress, and I don't want to say what my father did. I'm not promoting my family, but I knew how he invested millions of dollars building the national teams. Yeah, his personal funds. You don't get those things anymore. Do you understand me? You have to see the '94 team was done outside the outside government. It was done by individuals. That was why we were successful. But you don't have those things anymore. You just have a bunch of greedy leaders. and greedy individuals or corporate bodies. It's all about them and their family. They're not giving it. So how do you want the kids to perform? How? All the kids are out there wasting away. We've got great talents in this country, but they're wasting away because we're not helping out. We're not encouraging them. We're not building structures, institutions where you can build those, you can develop those kids. Yeah. So they're on the street doing yahoo, doing all sorts of stupid things. Yeah. Because there's no competition. There's nothing to draw their attention. You understand me? Until we do those things, we can never ever change. We can't get it right. Yeah, well, for me, I don't see any difference for me, whatever you give to the female teams, you also give to the senior, to men. Because our team, our female team, at the world ranking today, we're tops, we're recognized. So you have to also allow, but for men, anywhere in the world, men always have an advantage. But doesn't mean the disparity should be so much. You give the ladies, I remember when I was the FA chairman, I remember once the female team was in camp, and we went there in Ota. When we found out what they were earning, it was disgraceful. They couldn't even buy their, I'm sorry to say that, what you ladies use, your pads, you couldn't even buy it. I had to tell them, these are women. Why are you treating them like rubbish? They have to be looked after, because they're going to need more of those systems, because you have more wastage than men. Don't let me go into what I'm saying, but I understand. So the women have to be well taken care of. Yeah, simple. So you've got to give them what it takes. To strike a balance. You have to strike a balance. Solutions I'm going to give you, I can't give you a straight off head, but really, since first, we have to get rid of greed. We have to go away from all this religiosity in the system, because religion has destroyed the fabrics of a nation. See, being a Christian or a Muslim or whatever doesn't mean you've got to cheat people or lie to people or not show love. You understand me? Or the religious, when I come to religion, the churches, the institutions we have today are not developing education. There must be uniformity in education. They're not developing education. Education is key. But you know what we have today? Half-baked educated youths. Half-baked. And that's the worst you can ever have. And that is key in anything we do. First, to have good leaders, well-structured. In Germany, in Europe, and now, the kids that go to the best universities, some kids are developed, they're built up to the top civil servants. So they go to Oxford, they go to Cambridge, they become top politicians. Then you have the ones that will become big and top engineers, and they go to certain universities. All those things are structured. We had it before in the past. It's gone. We've got to find the way. It's not about just giving licenses to universities. But for me, the foundation, education, is very key. When you have half-baked youths and you have half-baked leaders that haven't got that structure in place, that proper education, they can never excel. What are you going to tell them? They will never get it right. So that's very key. Now, when you talk about policies, who are the ones that are going to put the policy papers together if they're half-baked? Because you need policy papers, you need to have a better understanding of your environment, of the society. You have to have a better understanding of how the society will grow. So if you don't have that in mind, you can never develop. So you need those things to make the nation change. I'm just giving it in a nutshell. Yeah, you need more commercial, you need more private sector funding, you need more sponsorship, and then, like I said, you need more training. You need to train your coaches. Our referees are the most Nigerian referees. Do you see any referee participating in any African Nations Cup? No. Because, and you're telling me it's the best league. That's the most corrupt league in the world. Because our coaches are not even, our referees are not even allowed. They never invite them for any Nations Cup. So what are we talking about? What does that tell you? What does that tell you? Every match in the MPFL, most times, most of the games, all home teams win. You don't see away teams coming to win. So are you telling me that's a balanced league? It's not a balanced league. It's a corrupt league. So that has to change first. When that changes, you understand me? And also, then other things will follow. You see, you have the National Olympic Committee that is run, by the private sector and government. Now you need to get the right people in the private sector to come in there to work with some people in government, people that have got the wherewithal, that got the financial muscle and the commitment to do those things. Not just people that are hustlers that just want to get something out of it. It's about people that want to give. That's what Olympics is all about. People that give, that are ready to give, to develop Olympians to be world beaters. People that truly want that mood, that soul of Olympics to excel. That's what we need. And that is what we have to work on. And that comes from leadership, that comes from the system, where you choose the right people that have got what it takes to build the Olympic team.
At the African Development Studies Center, ADSC, we are committed to driving sustainable growth and development across Africa through innovative training and research. Our mission: empowering leaders, policymakers, and professionals with the tools they need to create lasting change. With customized training, dynamic research programs, and study exchanges on leadership, management, and other critical development topics, ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, and monitoring and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercise,